Hello everyone, this will be chapters 10 and 11 of Quirk Class Thaumiel, written by Patchwork Life and read by Insect Overlord. The first chapter is chapter 10, titled Kotsky Choking is a Canon Event, and has content warnings for some violence and choking/drowning. Kotsky couldn't breathe, and Izuku was responsible somehow. Ever since he left school and started walking home, Kotsky kept coughing. The itchy feeling in his lungs grew wet, and the boy began to feel dizzy as he stumbled down the road home. Kotsky collapsed in the middle of a crowded street. The throngs at his feet didn't help. They only parted way for the boy, as he coughed harder, desperately clutching his chest and heaving bile. "I'm sure a hero will help him," they whispered as they turned their eyes away. "Help!" Kotsky tried to scream, but his mouth couldn't form the words. Whether because of his lungs' self-destruction or his inability to ask for help, even Kotsky himself didn't know. So he began to fire off explosions. The hospital was too far away to make it on foot, and he wouldn't be able to call an ambulance in this state. If no heroes would notice him, Kotsky just had to make them notice. Kotsky spit up another mouthful of seawater as the wooden sign for a nearby cafe went up in flames. The crowd around Kotsky screamed and began to stampede away. "Halt, villain!" a muscular hero with strange caution tape-covered wrist guards announced. Finally, someone who could help. The hero bounced towards the cause of the fire and threw a punch at the kneeling boy's ribs. Kotsky went flying into a brick wall. Sparks flew. The wall was seared with ash, an imprint of the size of a teenager. Another hero appeared. This one had a face made of wood. He sent out long, branching limbs to ensnare the helpless victim. "Stop resisting and come quietly," the hero said. Crackling fireworks ripped their way across Kotsky's skin in response. His face was covered in vegetation. A trickle of seawater slipped through the thicket. "He's resisting arrest. Just knock him out," the first hero declared. The muscular hero approached the boy. "Hey kid, stay back. It isn't safe," a police officer guarding the police line yelled. Kotsky might not have been able to see, but the voice he heard next was one he could never forget. It consumed his mind every night, the narration of his nightmares. "Steven, cut it out!" Izuku yelled as he began tearing the brambles away from his friend's face. "You're interfering with an arrest, kid," the hero Death Arms admonished as he pulled Izuku off Kotsky. When Izuku turned to the angry heroes, Kotsky froze in terror. The boy hailed as a walking ray of sunshine, was dripping with a menacing aura, and scowling as the heroes with such intensity that all time seemed to stop. Nobody could move. Every bystander frozen in terror at the small child's rage. "Arrest? Arrest?" the boy demanded, breaking the silence. "He's drowning, for goodness sake!" He's destroying the street," Kamui Woods managed. Still, his grip on Kotsky loosened slightly. "Call an ambulance," Izuku said, suddenly calm yet no less dangerous seeming. "Now." "How about we take him down to the police station first, then see about the ambulance," Death Arms suggested. Izuku turned back to the hero again, furious once more. But Kotsky never heard the response, as he collapsed with a final trickle of water from his lips. Whatever the other boy said in his defense must have worked, however, because the sound of sirens could soon be heard through the unconscious haze Kotsky now waded through. Kotsky awoke in a hospital. He instinctively began to cough, but this time no liquid was to be found. Opening his eyes, he saw Izuku at the foot of his bed. The smaller boy smiled, seeing his friend wake from his comatose state. "Get away from me, you monster." Izuku's smile vanished. Kotsky curled up in his cot and covered his face with his sheets. He clutched his hands against himself with such vigor that his temples began to turn an angry red. The image of that dark, too long figure and the feeling of coughing up a never-ending supply of salt water invaded his senses in the darkness. I just want you to leave me alone." Minutes later, a nurse checking on the sleeping patient found Kotsky huddled against his sheets, sobbing to himself. Besides him, the room was empty. SCPs in this chapter were SCP-151, the Drowning Painting, Stephen, and SCP-783, the Crooked Man. Here's Chapter 11, Incident Report 1300-B12. Incident Report 1300-B12. Level 5 security clearance is required for examining this document. SCPs involved: SCP-1300, SCP-8502. Personnel involved: Agents Redacted, Redacted, and Redacted. 5 D-Class Agents, Yagi Toshinori. Date: XX to XX. Location: Redacted, North Street. Redacted, Natural History Museum. Redacted, Junior High School. Description: At Redacted, AM, XXXX, SCP-1300 disappeared from containment. This was the second instance of this item's disappearance in the Foundation record. The cause of disappearance in both instances is assumed to be SCP-8502 under a high degree of evidence. Unlike previous cases of SCP-8502's interference, SCP-1300 was not returned to Foundation confinement. A team of 5 D-Class agents discovered SCP-1300 under a bridge, with SCP-8502 nowhere in sight. Once recovered and examined in Foundation laboratories, the DNA of one Yagi Toshinori, known to be the identity of the original figure All Might, was found on the recovered anomaly. Samples included blood, hair, sweat, and urine. Addendum 1300-B12-1. The following SCP-1300's discovery was the discovery of the remains of the Foundation Agent Redacted nearby. Agent Redacted appeared to have been killed with extreme blunt force trauma. This marks the second failed attempt to secure SCP-8502. Addendum 1300-B12-2. List of attempts to secure SCP-8502. 1. Agent Redacted failed to secure SCP-8502 on XXXX at Redacted, Natural History Museum. The agent in question was disfigured and killed by SCP-783. The agent had an ability derived from SCP-3396, which allowed him to disperse gas with a paralyzing agent. The lack of physical force made the ability viable in containing SCP-8502, but SCP-8502 retained the ability to summon SCP-783 to his aid, even while asleep. 2. Agent Redacted failed to secure SCP-8502 on XXXX at SCP-8502's primary residence. This agent was killed immediately by SCP-783. The agent's SCP-3396 ability allowed her to exercise physical control over subjects, provided physical contact. However, SCP-783 was guarding SCP-8502's bedside even before the agent arrived. Thermal imaging indicates that SCP-8502 did not wake during the incident. 3. Agent Redacted failed to secure SCP-8502 on XXXX at Redacted North Street. Agent was killed by blunt force trauma. The trauma inflicted by SCP-018, which is still at large. The agent had an ability derived from SCP-3396, which allowed him to possess the body and abilities of any host he was fully contained in. This ability was deemed a possible solution for containment. However, it left Agent Redacted weak to physical attacks. This concludes Chapters 10 and 11 of Quirk, Class Thaumiel. SCPs in this chapter were SCP-1300, Liquid Surgeon, SCP-018, Superball, SCP-8502, Izuku Midoriya, SCP-783, The Crooked Man, and SCP-3396, the SCP explanation for the existence of quirks. Hope you guys liked this. I liked that the slime villain was an SCP agent who wasn't just attacking Izuku for no reason. He was actually trying to contain him. And I thought it was funny when Izuku released the ball and the agent was like, "No, you have no idea what you've done." That's it for now. The next chapter should be up soon, and thank you so much for listening.